I have to show my cute.
No, I love it. Your cute shirt.
Okay.
Welcome back to Mod Squad Moms.
Hi.
Hey.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
I missed you.
I've missed you too.
I know. It's been a
know.
while. Little hiatus, just like the last time. But this time it was more so because, as you know, if you've been following my video series on the road to recovery, I am recovering from ACL surgery. Super fun times. Highly recommend it for everyone. Absolutely not. Totally sucks. But it'll get better, and then I'll be able to like jump higher and faster and be amazing.
You could have like a bionic knee.
No, I'm so excited.
know.
It's just a matter of
Hamstring for an ACL instead.
yeah, no kidding. It's, I mean, like that's pretty badass to have a hamstring for an ACL.
Super
I mean, you
badass.
can't get much better than that.
Uh-huh. Agreed.
So it's fall, which is awesome. Super excited, and it's finally rainy and gloomy out. Which, of course, I love beautiful fall weather and everything else, but I kind of like the gloomy days too because it makes it feel like fall.
I love rainy days in the fall.
I do too.
I really do because it makes it feel like fall. It's
I
so
know.
bizarre.
It
I
is.
love rainy days in the fall, especially
is.
sleeping.
Yes.
Sleeping with rain. Ugh,
It's amazing.
the best.
It is.
That was a weird face, but whoops, you dropped
Whoops.
us.
We're back.
Hi, we're back.
Apparently, my phone's been drinking rosé, which is what we're drinking today. Actually,
Rosé.
Deneen is drinking rosé. Sea glass.
Sea glass, and it's a cheap bottle of rosé, but it's actually super yummy.
Exactly.
Really, really, really. You don't need to spend a lot of money
You don't.
for a good glass of wine.
No.
Very, very yummy.
Really,
Yeah.
the only difference between the two is one gives you a really bad headache, and the other one maybe not so much. But
That's
guess
why
what?
I'm only having one.
Exactly, and you saved yourself $30.
That's right. That's
That
right.
is
Yeah.
a benefit. I'm not drinking wine because, you know, mixing medication and wine together is frowned upon by the pharmacy and doctors and basically the world. So I'm enjoying my Disney cup of hot coffee.
Yum.
It's delightful. It's got pumpkin spice, so, you know, I'm jumped
Fall,
on the
fall.
trendy train.
Everything pumpkin.
Absolutely. I know. And speaking of fall, we get to wear fall clothes, and I'm loving the sweater that you're wearing.
Yes. Bold, beautiful, and free. And this is my favorite shirt. Yes, it's a yoga shirt, but it is my favorite shirt of just because what it says. Because I feel bold, beautiful, and free. And I feel free because I am living life unapologetically, if you watch the last video.
Yes.
Which makes me feel beautiful.
I know. I think that's awesome. Self-love.
Yeah, self-love.
Seriously, it's
Yeah.
if you are not there with that whole self-love thing, you need to jump on that train because it's amazing. So going off of self-love, one thing we want to talk about is our subject today is healthy, not wealthy. What in God's name do I mean by that? Because who doesn't want to be wealthy? What I mean by that is being wealthy in numbers. We live in a society that is so focused on the numbers game. I need to lose X amount of weight. I need the scale to say this weight. I need X, blah, 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 blah. I want to wear a size, whatever. You know, you look at fitness magazines, it's always size 2 models that are 20 years old that look amazing.
And Photoshop.
And photoshopped. It's not realistic. That's not realistic life. You look at fitness videos. You know, the one thing that I am finding, which I love, is they're starting to put real world people in these fitness videos because it makes them more relatable. Shift Shop is seriously awesome for the fact that they have, I mean, not only is the trainer, you know, I'm, you know, partial to Chris anyways, but not only is the trainer super motivating, but they have every single body type in that video. And
I
that's
love
awesome.
that.
Because seriously, I don't think that a number determines how fit you are. And so
I'm proof of that.
exactly.
I'm
I mean,
proof of that.
seriously. Yeah. And I mean, like, you're in great, great, great shape.
I am probably, honest to goodness, in the best shape of my life as far as strength goes. Strength goes.
Yeah.
The things that I am able to do now versus even last year are incredible.
Exactly.
And I'm not a 6'8".
Nope.
Nor will I ever be.
Nope,
and
and that's okay.
I am totally over being a 6'8". I, honest to God, am over it. Yeah, I want to be healthy, and that is my primary focus, is to be healthy.
Exactly.
And I don't even say, yeah, it would be nice to be 10 pounds lower. I don't even worry about that.
No.
Because I worry about how I feel, how tired am I throughout the day? Do I have that 3 o'clock slump? Am I dizzy when I get up from sitting? Am I able to do my workouts without getting exhausted? Just day in and day out, simple things
Yep.
are more important to me than am I a size 6, because I'm over that.
Exactly.
I'm over being on the struggle bus. But anyway, you were saying.
Yeah, no. I think that's great, and I think that's like right where we're going with all
Right.
of this. I think that if you're going to be numbers focused, it's great for short-term diet, but long-term is where it's at, and long-term is not number focused.
No, and that is such an interesting perspective. Like, that's mind blowing to me to think, because we're always like, I want to be 10 pounds lower by the Christmas party at my husband's company,
Right.
Whatever, but I instead thinking I want to be a year from now, I want to be able to hold a plank for
Yeah.
6 minutes. Something along those lines is where we need to put our focus long term.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that.
Absolutely.
That it's long term focus, not short term.
No, because how many times do you look at, you'll go on social media and somebody's posting, I run challenge groups. I do. Mine are never focused on numbers, ever. You'll see those, and hey, it's okay if that's how you want to approach it. That's your thing. That's fine. But you see these challenge groups that'll be like, I want to drop a pumpkin by Halloween. Want to drop 15 pounds in 3 weeks. Want to do 10 pounds in 2 weeks. 5 pounds in a week.
And that's our industry that we're in.
It is. It's totally
And that's, it's very goal oriented, but we need to change our focus of what the goal is.
Yeah, because how many times have you entered into something where, say that you did do a weight loss challenge, and say the advertisement for it was lose 15 pounds in 3 weeks, or lose 15 pounds in a month. And those 4 weeks go by and you don't hit 15 pounds.
Yeah.
How do you
but
feel?
Is your cholesterol better?
Yeah.
Is your blood pressure better? Is your resting heart rate better?
Well, you won't know because you won't be focused on that. You'll be
Right.
so focused on
Right.
what that scale said. And if you didn't reach that 15 pounds, how about that feeling of defeat? How about that feeling of, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm so defeated right now. The challenge groups that I run, they are allowed to weigh themselves. Like, we're going into this new one on the 16th. And it is all about, of course, the
Trick or
self-love
treat
journey.
yourself.
Trick or treat yourself.
Yeah.
And they start out, they're allowed to weigh themselves, but the most important thing is I make them take pictures and measurements. And
way
then
more
they're not
important.
allowed to
Yeah.
weigh themselves until the challenge is over. And they're like, what? I mean, like, they just mind blown, and they're like having heart attacks because they're like, you can't take away my scale. But when we start to take the number
Yeah.
out of the equation, and I make them focus on finding a workout that they love,
Yep.
finding goals or goal-oriented, what do I want to say? Goal-oriented, gosh, I can't even think of what the word is that I want to say. But like, so
Maybe
they
a
have,
fitness goal.
yes,
or,
a fitness
yeah,
goal.
yeah.
So like for that week, what was the big takeaway from that? Were you able to go from your knees to your toes for 2 push-ups? Not even the entire time, but for 2 push-ups. Like, that is awesome. We're going to celebrate that number. Did you do a couple more reps than you did the last challenge? That's awesome. We're going to
Yeah.
celebrate that number.
Yeah.
Even down to like, okay, so where were you water-wise? Did you drink 5 more ounces than you did last time? That's awesome. Let's celebrate that number. So you're not allowed to celebrate the number on the scale. That is not allowed. Those aren't celebrations that we take part in. What we celebrate is everything but that number. And so when we stop being so wealthy and so consumed in large numbers and we take that away, what I'm finding with my challengers is not only is that weight just dropping off, but they're so much happier. And so then when it comes down to 4 weeks later, when they weigh themselves on that scale, they're like, okay, so, I'm maybe I lost like 3 pounds. That's great. But look at my before and afters.
Look at the
my
before and after.
numbers.
Look at your numbers as far as how many reps. And I got my insurance assessment this morning.
Yeah.
And we do this every year in October. And it's interesting to see from year to year how I've changed and how I've fluctuated. And last year, I was 3 pounds lighter, and my hips were 3 pounds smaller. And the way that I looked at it, though, and I'm proud of this. The first thing that I looked at, I'm like, I got gains in my glutes.
Yeah.
Rock on, you know,
Yeah.
because I feel there are certain poses, and I always think there are certain poses that I can do now that I couldn't do a year ago, talking yoga. And that makes me feel so strong and so beautiful that I can do something that I wasn't able to do. Like yesterday, I held a crow for probably like 8 to 10 breaths. And I don't know if that means anything to you all or not, but to hold it 8 to 10 breaths. That's an amazing core pose. Most of the inversions are core poses. People think that an arm balance is actually an arm balance, and it's really not. I mean, you're focusing more on your core and where you're holding your core and how you hold that makes you strong. And so anyway, it just changing your perspective on, I could have been like, I gained 3 pounds, oh my goodness. However, my cholesterol was like 50. My cholesterol has always been amazing because I'm very focused on my nutrition and all of that. But it was like 60 points lower, 50, 60 points lower. And my blood pressure was right where it always has been. I always run a very low blood pressure. They didn't take a resting heart rate, although I would have loved that because I like to see where my resting heart rate is. Like if I stay in the 50s, 60s, I am super elated.
Yeah.
And that's just because I really focus on being active at least once a day.
Yeah.
However, my numbers were so much better this year than they were last year, yet I gained 3 pounds. So, but I'm elated. I had a great morning because and my husband and I always compare notes. You know, what do your numbers look like? His numbers were phenomenal.
That's awesome.
Because he's doing this plant-based thing with me.
Yeah.
And I'm so proud of him for taking this in and really, what's the word? He's very accepting and open-minded to trying something new.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so
so
our numbers were awesome this morning.
Yay!
Yeah, I want to like show them off. I'm so proud of them.
See, and that's something that you celebrate. Like, who cares about what a scale says? Like, it doesn't. That's not what's important.
It's not a true picture of your health.
No.
At all.
No.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like, there's so many times that I will see, you know, like, I take before and after pictures all the time, especially when I start challenges. And like I have one where the before picture shows one thing and then the after picture shows a completely different thing, but there's only a 1 pound difference. But if you were to look at that picture, you would say, what, 10 pounds?
Right.
You would think a 10 pound difference. Right. And there's so much more that goes into that. So, you know, I think it's so important to get away from that. And I hate that we're such a society that's so numbers focused because, you know, you're missing out on so many other amazing things that are happening. Your skin looks good. You know, your energy is back. You're sleeping better.
Huge.
You know?
Energy and sleep are huge.
Yeah. Your nails are growing like crazy. You know, for women, like
your hair. Yeah.
Yeah. Hair's better. You know, if you ever notice when you're not super healthy, your hair gets dull. Like it has a dull look,
and as does your face.
Yeah,
as well.
Your face will break out. You know,
nutrition is like 80%. By the way, nutrition is huge.
It is. It's so huge, and I think a lot of people, you know, forget that, and not, you know, it's just, I don't know, it's just crazy to think so many people want to be wealthy in those numbers instead of being healthy. You know, if you're on a long-term gig here and you're doing this long term, then you got to get your head out of this mindset of weighing yourself every week, of, you know, being so numbers focused, and focus on all the positive things that are happening around you. Do your kids have better eating habits? Does your husband have better eating habits? Or your significant other have better eating habits?
So true. My senior he's been doing lots of essays for college applications, and one of it was about your mother, which was actually kind of gratifying in some sense. And it was the underlying theme of his paper was how much I'm a health nut and how that has transformed his eating and the way that he approaches life. And that was like, I was so
awesome.
proud of that. So you're right.
Yeah.
Like just living your life in a certain way and attempting to eat a certain way, or making sure that you're active every single day, whether it's taking the dog for a walk or whether it's doing a 30-minute flow or whatever it is. And so I'm glad that that's transferring over to my kids. And so it's making a huge difference. Yeah.
Exactly. I think that that's awesome. And I think that, like we need to start setting goals, instead of saying like, I want to be a certain dress size by this Christmas party. How about set a goal like, I want to be able to go scuba diving in 3 months when
And
I'm
have
on
the
vacation.
cardiovascular
Exactly. Have the
endurance
Yeah.
to do that.
yeah.
Like
Set
Yeah.
cool goals like that. Or
Yeah.
I want to go hiking without having to take a million breaks and feel energized by that in
Yeah.
X amount of time. So set like movement goals, instead of
I love that. I love
size goals,
Yeah.
and like own that. I am, like you said, you're super excited about your glute gains. I love glute
I am
gains.
so proud of, and I pass myself in the mirror sometimes, and I honestly, it's not being like, I'm into myself. It's not
No.
that at all, but I'll pass myself in the mirror. I'm like, whew,
Yeah,
my butt looks really good.
Yeah.
It's a big butt.
exactly.
And also when I'm instructing, you can't miss it. So when I'm doing one thing or the other with my butt, it's right there.
Like I
You
love the
see it.
fact. I like the fact that I have to wear medium long sleeve shirts, and you know why? Because of my guns.
Because
Because of my guns. I am super proud of them. They're not big, they're not bulky, but they are muscular and they are
beautiful.
strong, and
they're beautiful.
that's right. And so like I'm proud of that. Like I'm proud of the fact that like I can't fit into a size small, and it's not because like this part, it's just because of the arms. Like it's those kind of things, that you get to celebrate. It's funny how, some of that can change, and I think it was so interesting to be with my challengers for the 4 weeks and them not be able to weigh themselves, and to actually see when I forced them to take away that, and then I would not allow them the opportunity to be numbers focused. They were so much happier.
So you're so
Every
much
time they
happier because
checked in.
when you step on the scale every single morning, it sets the tone
It
for your
does.
day. You're like, I've gained 2 pounds in a day. How did I gain 2 pounds? It must have been that Mexican that I ate. We ate Mexican last night, by
Exactly.
the way, and it was delicious. And I had a plant-based burrito that was phenomenal. However, like if I would have stepped on the scale this morning and I had to for my assessment, I probably would have been 2 pounds heavier. You fluctuate every single day.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
sometimes it's 4 pounds,
Yep.
I mean, and you can't let that set the tone for your entire day.
No, and
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
oh no, that's okay. Go ahead, finish.
No,
yours.
just instead, maybe introduce some movement into your day.
Yeah.
And see if you can get a couple extra reps and see if you can do 14 sun salutations versus 2 sun salutations, whatever your goal is. I
Yeah.
mean, do it that way instead of the first thing you do is step on that scale.
Absolutely. Well, and how many times have you started a weight loss program and you ended up, because you didn't hit the results that were advertised, you felt defeated, and so then you said, what's the point, and went back to your bad eating habits. What did you take away from that?
So true.
You didn't take
That's
anything
so
away.
true.
All you took away was the only negative thing that came out of it was the fact that the number didn't change on the scale, or the number didn't go as high as you wanted to, and all the good that you did along that way,
And all the good you did for the inside of your body.
you just totally ignored it.
Yeah.
You completely threw that out the window.
Right.
The most important
Right,
part.
so true. Like, how
And it's
did you
just
feel
gone.
after the challenge?
Yeah.
Not
So-
necessarily did you lose the weight.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
you let yourself be a slave to what that scale said, and you reversed every single thing that you did because you said, "What's the point?"
Right.
The
What's
scale
the point?
says that I failed. Well, no. You won, and you won big time, but you didn't allow yourself.
And number
feel
one,
that.
because you stuck with the program.
Yeah.
That's a huge accomplishment. If you
Seriously.
stuck with the program for 28 days or 21 days or whatever the challenge is, That's enormous
Yes.
that you did that.
And I promise you, you are way healthier than what you were at the beginning of those 28 days.
For
and you need
sure.
to remember that
For
because
sure.
it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. The scale doesn't matter.
No. And I forgot I was going to say something that was incredibly clever, and then I totally forgot.
That always happens. I'm like, this is going to be great to say. And I don't remember any of what I was supposed to say.
It's okay.
No.
It's okay.
Yes. So as Mod Squad, obviously, you know, our whole squad is about modifications. And Deneen and I wanted to start incorporating some of those modifications and talking about some of that stuff. So if you follow me with the Road to Recovery, you know that I have been back in the gym. And I'm not quite ready or allowed to do PT yet. That will be coming here in the next few weeks. But for me, I need to move. It makes my body feel better. I need to have that blood flow. Laying around sounds glorious before you actually have it done. But then 3 days in, you're bored, you know, and you need to move. And so
You're bored, and
exactly,
it affects different parts of your body if you're
it does
compensating for your hurt knee.
exactly.
And so it's hurting different parts because your body is asymmetrical, but you're trying to get it symmetrical all the time, right?
Yes.
And so if you're not using your knee, it's going to affect your back, your hips, your other leg, your shoulders. I mean, everything.
Everything is going to be out of alignment. And
Yeah.
I have noticed that big time with this one. So, you know, some of the modifications that I've done because again, I don't have to stop my health. I don't have to stop my road to recovery or my road to fitness just because of the fact that I'm sidelined by an injury. What you have to do is just modify. And so my modification is I'm working on upper body and core. Core is going to help with my back.
Everything.
My back
Yeah.
has been jacked up since I'm laying in bed most of the day, and you know, I'm elevated. And so being able to move and being able to do things that are going to help me along not only makes me feel better, but I'm continuing on that healthy path. You know, so that's a big thing. But I will say, with having this type of an injury, my hips are just crazy. So Deneen is going to show me some great yoga techniques that I can do that are safe and effective for when you do have like some hip pain. And I have a lot of weight on one side because of the brace, and that throws off how I walk and doing the crutch. And so it's always good. My doctors are so impressed that I foam roll. So I do a lot of the foam rolling.
Foam rolling is amazing.
So amazing.
Yeah,
So
look up some
amazing.
YouTube videos on how to properly foam roll, and you will be astonished.
So
Mind
good.
blown. And if you don't have a foam roller, you could use a tennis ball
Yeah.
as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to be right back. We're going to head to the floor, and Deneen is going to show me some great little hip openers for back. Be back in a minute. Bye. Okay, so we are talking about some modification and some hip openers
Correct.
that we can do.
Safe hip openers
Safe hip openers.
for Gimpy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is good for lower body, especially if you have a lower body injury. So if you're dealing with broken leg, if you're dealing with, you know, knee issues, these are things that are safe, that you're not putting any weight on that injured leg. And so go ahead.
So one thing while we're standing that we can do is a good hip opener and just like side body from here all the way down. So it's getting some of your IT band, some of your hip. It's also working on knee stabilization is triangle pose. So what I'm going to have you do so that you're not putting any extra pressure is you're going to use the wall, and you're going to take your front foot and point it towards me. Okay? And just take your back foot as far as you can, as it's comfortable.
Okay.
And then you're going to reach forward with your fingertips until you're laterally folding. Yeah. And try to open up right here. And so what that's doing is that's opening up her hip, it's opening up her side body, as well as giving some knee stabilization right in this knee. And that is something safe that she can do that will help to open everything up. It's also really, really good for sciatica if you ever experience sciatica, because it's taking the pressure off of the piriformis. The piriformis is right underneath your glutes, deep, deep, deep underneath your glutes. And this pose in particular opens that up and relieves the pressure on your sciatic nerve. Okay, so you could,
feels awesome.
does that feel good?
Yes, that does. Feels awesome.
Another thing that you can do is half moon, which is doing the same thing. So you know how to get into half moon. So why don't you go ahead and show them? And so she's doing a modified, no, you're not even doing a modified half moon. So this is fantastic. That also is going to open up the hip, open up the chest, open up the side body, and relieve a lot of pressure on her piriformis. So any kind of lateral bend like this is really going to feel good on her lower back, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so go ahead and come down. And are really good if you are not even able to do that kind of pose. Why don't you come down on your left knee?
Okay.
And you're going to do the same thing that you were doing, only opening up, kind of doing a small back bend. See how she's doing? So this is, you could call this half circle, you could call this modified rock star, whatever you want to call this. That's a really, really, really good opener of her side body. Does that feel good to you?
That does. It feels really good.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite poses because you're getting that extension in the back and you're also opening up that side body. So those are 3 different poses that you can do to relieve pressure on the back, pressure on the hips, and also work on the stabilization of the knee.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so it feels good. You don't have to go into a pigeon pose necessarily, because pigeon pose you're going to bend that knee, and that's not something that she's able to do.
Nope.
So these are some optional poses to open up
Absolutely.
everything.
Spinal twist is the other one.
Spinal twist is
great.
awesome. Yeah.
Taking that, leg to the opposite side and looking over that shoulder, opening up through that arm. I think that's a great pose. And if you can, doing upward dog, which is...
Up dog is one of my favorite poses. The reason that it's one of my favorite poses, and we can't really see, so I'm gonna,
Can we even see? I'm gonna take that off.
Let's take this down. Okay, perfect. Up dog is one of my very, very favorites. The reason that it's one of my very favorites, people tend to think that any kind of, go ahead and come up, Julie. People tend to think that any kind of extension like that is going to hurt them, when in fact it's better than flexion. And here's why. Extension is better for your spine when you're doing this as opposed to flexion. Because when you're extending your spine, you're opening up those vertebrae and relieving the pressure on the nerves. When you're in flexion, you're compressing those vertebrae. You're putting pressure on the nerves. So extension is way better. Extension, flexion. Well, that's flexion of my bicep, but you get the point. So it's better for your spine to open it up versus closing everything. Does that make sense?
Totally does. Absolutely.
Yeah. So really good for lower back issues. If you have a fusion, that's when you need to be careful with flexion and extension. You need to ask your doctor first if they recommend that. Twist anything on the lower back. You want to be very, very careful. If you don't have an injury, herniated discs, actually, extension is really, really good. Any kind of slip disc, extension is really good. Fusion, not good. Not good. Ask your doctor. Ask your chiropractor. Yeah?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay.
I agree with that.
Yeah. And one more thing that I forgot in the last video is find something that you were grateful for on your body. One thing. One thing. Whether it's your shoulders, whether it's your smile, whether it's your ears, I don't care what it is. One thing that you are grateful for, and you're not focused on numbers. Yeah?
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.